rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I'm going to forego a lot of the normal things that I do in the beginning, only just because of the fact that we have some seriously breaking news that just occurred not too long ago at the Trump rally in, I believe it's Butler, Pennsylvania. For those of you who are aware, I actually wasn't. I was outside working in the yard, and my buddy Steven Stiles calls me and goes, "Dude, you need to listen to this. Here's what's happening." And I ended up jumping on. I was about ready to start my normal, 2 hours ahead of time, just so you guys know a little inside baseball, usually around 2 hours ahead of time before live. I will go through and clean up and get things going, get the articles that I want to talk about, get all my speaking points online, things like that. And yes, that does take me roughly about 2 hours because I also have a couple other prep stuff that I do as well. This caught me off guard. I don't have anything really outside of this to necessarily discuss. However, I was able to grab granted the images are grainy, but I was able to grab the recorded incident at the time of the shooting. And so I can tell you that I am going to give you some of my analysis. Now, keep in mind, I am not necessarily a firearms expert. However, I have had experience with low caliber weapons, which is what this sounds like it potentially was. I do have experience with AR-15s, M16s, obviously M60s from the service. I also have hunted before, so I am familiar with those firearms, those types of firearms as well. So I will give you what I know. I will also give you what has been assumed or supposed. I won't tell you if I don't know something. I will not tell you specifically what that is. Now, keep in mind, this is kind of a Dan Bongino rule, which, by the way, he went live for about 20 minutes ahead of time, and I have that, and I might play that just so you can get his perspective, because again, he was a law enforcement officer in New York City. He is also a he's also a Secret Service agent, and so he has some experience and insight in this. I'm anticipating hearing about tomorrow on Battleground Live, because Sean Parnell was supposed to be, he is supposed to be at that rally, and being a combat veteran with experience, that kind of thing. This is something that we can hopefully leverage from this. But before we get into anything else tonight, please make sure that if you don't already, make sure that you have Donald Trump, and unfortunately right now, we are getting word from the news media that one person went ahead and was shot. One spectator was shot and killed. Another spectator was severely wounded and is critical in the hospital. Donald Trump himself is perfectly, I won't say perfectly fine, because obviously he did get grazed. He did get hit. And you'll see that in the footage that I have of what's going on. And it sounds like everybody is asking about Bongino's emergency thing. So I will go ahead and I'll play that for you in just a little bit. But again, keep in mind, 72-hour rule is in effect. So I will only tell you the things that I am observing and that I am aware of from my own experience, my own background. None of this is going to be, entirely scripted. However, obviously I can only shed insight into what I am aware of and what I know. I will not tell you if I don't know something. Okay. There are some tactics and things that I have been watching as far as that goes and have been observing over time. And things that just by listening to people like Dan Bongino, people who are in the know and knowing some of the things that I know about the way that we do our as far as like protectee details and things like that. So bear with me. This isn't 100% fully scripted. I'm kind of going off the cuff here. Not that I don't always go off the cuff, but definitely we do off the cuff. Now, I can tell you that in the footage that I have, Trump defiantly stood back up after being shot and after being covered by Secret Service. He did stand back up. He put his fist in the air and he did say 3 times, fight, fight, fight. Okay. So Trump for sure is perfectly fine. I mean, as far as that can be, if you've been, shot in the side of the head or the ear, there wasn't a lot of damage. You'll actually see it as a part of the imagery. So yeah, so there you go. I just, so everybody is aware, I am not going to be drinking tonight. Usually I would, but tonight I've got to pay closer attention, and so it's not my typical show. So I won't be drinking tonight. So please, if you're planning on sending me any like rumble rants to get me to drink, it ain't gonna happen. Just because of the fact that I don't like drinking in situations like this. So I need to pay attention to this. So let's go ahead and first of all, of course, just because we don't want to block people from doing what they normally do, we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by our own Amy Jean Viner over on Rumble. And so please, if you are of mind, stand, remove your hat, place your hand over your heart, and at the same time as reciting the pledge, just keep your mind on President Trump and the people who have both lost their life as well as are in the hospital fighting for their life at this point. So please, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. And thank you, Amy, for sending that in. I do appreciate that. So, yes, as always, there that is. I am not going to do necessarily a sponsor tonight. Let's just go ahead and get into it. All right. I have what NBC put out as the footage at the time that the shots and everything comes out. I apologize. The video is a little grainy, but that's fine because it probably had something to do with so many people watching the same damn video at the same time. But let's go ahead and take this down. Let me show you. So here, whoops. All right. All right. So here he is at the rally, and let's go ahead and listen to this at this moment in time.
Told, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. So just for those of you who are not on the video portion of the program, I would highly suggest you head over to rumble.com and look at this video afterward. For those of you that listen to it, I can tell you, I'm hoping you guys can hear this or heard that, the audio portion. But as Trump was speaking and he was looking into the side of the rally, and he was speaking to folks on the side. He wasn't looking forward at the people in front of the podium. He was looking to the side of the podium. And what was happening, so first of all, I can tell you right now, all right, long range shooting is not easy. It really is not easy. And one of the things that they will teach you at any weapons course will tell you that straight up that you aim for center mass. And by center mass, they mean in between the shoulders and the upper chest area. That is where you are focused whenever you are going to do, shoot at a target. And the reason for that is because of the fact that that area has the most likely organs that will potentially cause severe damage or potentially near death. Okay. Now, even snipers will not, a true trained sniper will not take a headshot unless there is absolutely no other choice. Okay? And there's a reason for that. And essentially, the reason for that is because the head itself, as you know, you see, even in the video that was being presented, you see his head is moving quite a bit in comparison to the rest of his body. Okay? And so his head movement, along with something that I'll point out here in just a little bit, with regards to this, his head movement may have been the difference in whether or not Donald Trump was dead or Donald Trump survives. And the reason being is you can't really see it from the angle of the video. You can't really tell, but my guess is that as he was moving, as his head was moving, that's when the shot came. And depending upon how far away the shooter actually was, there is a small amount of time that it takes for a bullet to travel. Yes, a bullet travels very fast, okay? But a bullet itself the bullet by itself is very small. You guys see and have seen in my Lucky Shot USA whiskey glass, you've seen that bullet, which is probably around a 308, 30, 308, somewhere around in there. Okay. But the thing about it is that it does not sound, based on the crack of the sound, it does not sound like it is a large caliber bullet, like something that you would use to take down big game. My anticipation and guess is that it is potentially an AR-15, could also potentially be an AK-47. However, the AK-47 doesn't sound like it does. It has a little bit more of a distinctive crack to it. Okay. This does not sound to me, and again, I'm suppositioning here because I mean I've heard them before, but this is what I am suppositioning, but my guess is this is a smaller caliber weapon, more than likely something like an AR-15. It is definitely a semi-automatic. And the reason being is because you hear the rapid fire, but not automatic level rapid fire, okay, in this video. Now, there are roughly, I counted them, there's roughly 8 shots that are very sure of, okay? I can guarantee you there's at least 8 shots for sure. But there is what sounds like a potential 9th shot. Now, the shooter, originally there was no information on the shooter. But since then, the local DA has come out and said that the shooter himself or herself is dead. No idea what is going on. Okay, so I'm being asked to play this again, so let me back this up. And we'll go ahead and we'll play it again really quickly here. And I will mute my microphone so nothing gets in the way.
Trump has been injured. I'm going to pause to let you see the video as it played out.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Okay, so yeah, the sound, that was 8 in a line. And so eyewitnesses on the ground said that they heard roughly 8 to 10 shots. I've counted 8. There is a 9th one. There was some suggestion that there was more than one shooter. Okay. So far, I haven't heard anything that would agree with that, so I'm just going to go with just a single shooter. There is also information that has been coming out since then that the shooter himself or herself was up on a rooftop nearby. That they actually did not get into the rally itself, and reportedly climbed up onto that rooftop in order to do this. So, and Buddy, I know Buddy is saying you can't go by sound anymore. Suppressors are too common. That wasn't suppressed. That wasn't anywhere near suppressed. That is not a suppressed weapon. It is a lower caliber round. That's what you heard. Is a lower caliber round. I am not convinced that would be a suppressor, or in layman's terms, a silencer. I doubt that that's the case. My anticipation is that the individual was probably anywhere from 100 to maybe 200 yards away. That would be my guess. Now, a reporter at one of the outlets that I was watching before I came live mentioned that the area surrounding this facility where they are at is a bunch of single-story, low-roofed buildings, and that this is not something that is high. My anticipation is that the individual did get up and at an elevated position, because firing from an elevated position is something that needs to be. Now, normally there would be a security perimeter that goes out beyond that distance potentially. But again, I'm suppositioning here. I don't know. So I'm not exactly sure, but the idea here is, or the potential idea, this, as details come out, like I said, 72-hour rule, can't rule out anything. But my understanding is it seems like it was somebody who was definitely at a elevated position in a rooftop. My anticipation also was that, or is that, the spectator that got hit was potentially behind Donald Trump. Now, for those of you that don't know, the president, again, going back to that whole center mass idea, all right, the president is going to be wearing some type of body armor. I'm sure Donald Trump has body armor on underneath his jacket and shirt. I'm fairly certain that that's the case. So the fact that this individual tried to take him out with a headshot, it kind of indicates that he potentially expected that as well. Now, the Secret Service got all over him, okay, and obviously, but here I want to play it further, and I want you to see Donald Trump's reaction after he comes out. So what we've already seen on the video is that he reaches up, touches his ear, and looks at his hand, sees the blood, and drops. Okay. So let's move on from here, from this point in the video. Okay, there was another potential pop right there, but I'm not exactly sure.
Move to the spare. Hold. When you're ready, on you. Ready? Move. Up. Move. Go. Up.
Hawkeye's here.
Move to the spare.
So here's what we know at this hour. What sounds like shots rang out. The former president grabbed his ear, and as he fell...
Okay, I'm muting the video because I don't want to listen to the analysis of the moron behind the mic. And technically, I could be the moron behind the mic. But so here they go. They're getting him up. He literally does not want to be carried. Okay, he's actually telling them, "I don't want to be carried," but they're trying to obviously protect him here. They're wrapped around him, but there he is. He's got his fist up. He says, "Fight, fight, fight," right there. Okay, he's got his fist up, and there he goes. They've got him walking off, surrounded by Secret Service. He's still holding up that fist, defiant, and he's saying, "Fight, fight, fight." Okay. All right, so there they rush him off to his motorcade car, or the safety of the armored vehicle that he has going on there. So, again, just pointing out, here's what we know. We know that Donald Trump is fine. We know that there is at least one spectator and the shooter are dead. We know that there is another spectator who is in critical condition at the hospital. I can tell you, when you look at the photographs, because there are plenty of photographs of Donald Trump. And let me see if I can find them. Yeah, so here, let me show you this. So this is from Town Hall, obviously taken shortly after the situation. And let me see if I can zoom in on this. Get as close as I can to the... So there's the image. And you can see the blood is from his ear, the edge of his head, all right? And the blood is from his ear, and you can see it's dripping down and coming across his face, under his nose and around his mouth, but he is still standing defiant. And you can also tell, too, that he is not backing down at all. He is not backing down. Now, the ironic, well, not ironic, but the timing of this came right after a tweet by Joe Biden's intern, who was talking about a gun control, where he was talking about gun control. And so, yeah, so we don't have any other, I don't have any other details at this point in terms of what is, who the shooter is or any of that. And I caution anyone from, any more than what has been presented right here, right now. I highly recommend that we hold off on any kind of thing to understand the person, the shooter. We're going to find out all kinds of stuff about the shooter in the coming days. So again, Dan Bongino rule, 72-hour rule in full effect. Okay. And, we need to make absolutely certain that until the full details come out, that we understand what's happening with what's going on here. So I caution anyone from pointing out anything right now. Other than prayer, I think that's probably the best thing. But by the same token, folks, I'm just going to say this right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Buddy, I know... Buddy, I understand you want to say what you're saying, and I get it. You have the right to free speech, but I'm cautioning you ahead of time. Please do not, under any circumstances, continue down the path of just accepting what's being sent in. I can tell you right now, my experience is the first 24 to 48 hours, there's going to be all kinds of supposition, guessing. There's going to be all kinds of stuff that are running around in the mainstream media, even on the right and the left. They're all going to just take off. So we need to just take a pause. We cannot say anything further. We cannot talk about any specifics until this is coming. So, all right. The next thing I want to do here real quick is I will bring, everybody's asking for Bongino. So here we go. So here is Dan Bongino. He went live in an emergency episode. And so here, let's go ahead and listen to what Bongino has to say. Might help if I actually unmute him. Sorry. Here we go.
Discuss, obviously, what just happened. I think it's all important that we, people like me who've been blessed by God with a microphone, do everything we can do to make sure we understand that God's in charge, that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And right now, I think it's very important that we all pray. And we all pray for our nation. Because we are now, tragically and sadly, living through a moment in history, and certainly not a proud one. I was just, not that my backstory at this point matters, who really cares, but I got to tell you, I was driving back from, I was watching a movie with Paula, and a friend of mine said Trump was shot, and I have to tell you, I think like many of you, I thought it was a joke, and a pretty sick one at that. But the guy who texted me is a very serious guy. He's not the type to joke around. Folks, this is, you're living through history. I've got Evita and Michael. I'm sorry, we don't have any theatrics for you today or any big elements or anything. I hope you understand. This is an emergency broadcast. They were kind enough to come over. But I want to do a few minutes with you because there's a lot going on here. And I want to say, we talk about the Bongino rule, and that definitely applies here. We don't know a lot, and we should say that in advance. What I don't know, I'm going to tell you. What I'm speculating, I'm going to tell you. Unfortunately, there's some commentary out there now, and I'm not criticizing anyone, please. I'm not. I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff out there now I'm hearing that's just totally, completely inaccurate, okay? First, this apparent assassination attempt. I think we can all agree that was apparently a firearm at this point, appears to have been at least. Let's talk about the how and the why. I'm getting tons of questions from people. How could this possibly happen? The event has a secure perimeter with magnetometers designed to detect weapons and metal coming into the event. How could a weapon get in there? This is obviously an abysmal failure. Nobody should ever try to cover for this. I have a lot of loyalty to my colleagues at the Secret Service. Their motto is worthy of trust and confidence. However, this is an abysmal failure. There's no excusing that at this point. Whatever happened in there, we'll get the details. Whatever happened in there should not have happened, period. We'll get the details later, but that should not have happened, no matter what. The protectee comes first at all times. Let's just say it appears to be a firearm at this point. We don't know that. I'm speculating again at that point on the final conclusion. We will obviously get some forensics. Apparently, I think it was WTAE is now reporting that there was a fatality at the event. It appears right now President Trump appears to be okay. However, as you saw, again, tragically with the Reagan shooting, which we're all taught in Secret Service school, over and over, broken down like a case study. Everybody thought Reagan was okay too until he started gurgling blood. So again, I would caution anyone to jump to conclusions. I say appears to be a firearm because we haven't heard yet about the weapon actually being recovered. I want to see it. I heard around 8 to 10 shots. I'm not sure what you ladies and gentlemen heard out there, but I heard about 8 to 10 shots. It appears to have been from the shots. It sounded like a small caliber type weapon that got into the event. Now, let's get to the issue at hand. I'm getting from everyone. People are asking me, and I feel like I need to address in this emergency broadcast. Obviously, we're going to go into extreme detail on Monday about this show. But folks, things like this have happened in the past, and the way they bypass the magnetometer, in other words, secreting a weapon into an event. I'm not saying this happened here. People are asking me, hypothetically speaking, how would you get this thing in? The way it's happened in the past sometimes is they've buried these things. Now, that's not easy to do. You've got dogs that go around the site. I'm not saying that's what happened here. You bury it. You know a Trump event is happening. You come in, you dig it out. You're asking me for what could have happened in the past. I'm just giving you hypotheticals about scenarios we've gone over in the past. Another way, don't assume this firearm is an all metal device. However, there had to be some rounds. Is it something that was 3D printed? I don't know. Again, speculating at that point. We all know this, though. That should not have happened. How the magnetometers were bypassed, because it appears to have come from within the event. Although, again, that's not conclusive at this point. How this weapon bypassed the magnetometers is going to be the big question. It's an apocalyptic security failure. There will be reviews of this. This will be what you're witnessing today, ladies and gentlemen, with me, your friend right now, and we're watching right now on live television, is actual living history. And it's important we get it right, and we speculate, we say it. There is a possibility the shots may have come from outside the secure perimeter. However, ladies and gentlemen, that would be, try not to give away too much, that would be an oddity too. Envision a secure perimeter like a speech site where President Trump was. Shooters dead, apparently being reported now, and also an attendee of the rally. There are surveillance teams, an extensive network of surveillance teams, even outside the perimeter of the event. It would be very unusual for someone with a small caliber weapon to be able to do that and pull that off without being noticed by someone. Obviously not impossible. Something happened, but it would be unusual. Don't assume that, again, envisioning Donald Trump's event, you have this secure fencing, sometimes snow fencing, pipe and drape, whatever you may have. This is the secure area. You're not allowed in area X without going through the magnetometers. Don't assume there's also not security outside those magnetometers. There is. It would be very difficult for you to walk around unnoticed, but not impossible to do that. You get a firearm out. Sorry if this is not, I'm just obviously, like you all, deeply disturbed by everything that happened. I know a lot of you, and I appreciate a lot of you reaching out, saying, Dan, you predicted this, but this, I think we can all agree this isn't the time for that. I didn't want to predict this. However, if you, ladies and gentlemen out there, if you're interested in listening to why I thought this would happen, go back to episode 2079 on Rumble, and you can see how I laid out in advance why President Trump was at a severe security risk. And you'll see, sadly, a lot of what I said tragically has come to pass tonight. Thankfully, the president appears okay. Don't neglect the power of prayer. Now, we talked about the how. Someone bypassed the mags. Somebody got around those mags, or somebody outside the mags managed to engage and avoid surveillance. How that happened, I don't know. Hopefully we'll know within hours. Hopefully we'll know by tomorrow. We should definitely know by Monday. But why? And then some more important points. Why did this happen? This is where I'm going to encourage you not to jump the gun, folks. Listen, I know the left is crazy. I get that. I understand that. but I'm going to caution you strongly to not do what they do right now. This is too important a moment in our nation's history. We don't know what the motive is, and this is not a virtue signal. I'm not going to bullshit you. There's no time for fucking around. We just don't know. The left is already spinning crazy fairy tale. Just let the facts guide you. I say that for a number of reasons. One of the ways to bypass the mags, if you were really savvy, is it could have been an insider attack. Speculating? I'm telling you, I'm speculating. It's all we can do right now. But that's why I'm trying to disconnect people from jumping to a conclusion. The logical one is, yes, it was probably someone who hates Donald Trump. Pretty simple. Not complicated to figure out, correct? But sometimes logic doesn't apply. Let these left-wing lunatics do all their crazy nonsense stuff. Let's just let the facts guide us. President Trump did something today we haven't seen since, Teddy Roosevelt. He likely got shot in the middle of a speech and wanted to continue going. Don't jump to conclusions. Could be an inside attack. Someone with familiarity who had infiltrated the organization would likely know how to bypass the magnetometers through a different entrance. Remember, there are three separate groups of people that all get in through separate areas of the. And if you know that, I don't want to say who right now, but if you know that, you can take advantage of different security mechanisms at every way. If you know what I'm talking about. Let me just say it. There's three different. You got the 3 Ps, okay? Remember the 3 Ps. The press, the protectee, and the public. They all come in via different ways. You understand what I'm getting at? The public's flushed in through the magnetometers. Don't assume that's how this weapon, whatever it may be, got in. Did it come in through a press entrance? I don't know. But if you're an insider, you would know that. Did it come in through a protectee entrance somehow? I don't know. I doubt it. But again, this is why I'm telling everyone out there, and please to the commentators out there, much respect. I'm not criticizing anybody. Please don't say what you don't know, because you're just going to spin people's wheels up and you're going to pollute the news cycle. There are 3 separate entrances. How this person got in will be very telling. Could be as easy as a simple failure at the magnetometer. But folks, it's very unlikely somebody walked in with a magnetometer with that and just took it by chance that some Secret Service agent in a uniformed division team at a magnetometer was just going to be having a bad day and let it in. I find that highly unlikely. Some important points moving forward to guide you in the coverage of this. Number 1, the Secret Service will not be investigating this. And now this is where, ladies and gentlemen, take it for what it is. The FBI now has its jurisdiction. There is an MOU, it's short for Memorandum of Understanding, between the Secret Service and the FBI. The Secret Service does not investigate assassination attempts against its protectees, because if the Secret Service failed, there'd be an incentive to hide it. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm saying that's the genesis of the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU. The FBI, the Secret Service's job right now is to secure what is a crime scene. This is now a crime scene. It's not a rally anymore. I know you all understand that. The FBI will now take over the investigation, the processing of the evidence. The Secret Service's job is now done with this particular incident. The FBI will be investigating. Second, apparently Donald Trump was treated at the hospital, and there are important points, takeaways. Everything changed after Reagan, folks. When Reagan was shot, we didn't have a hospital agent. So this is what happened. They called the hospital and they said, we're coming with the president. He was shot. And you know what they did? They hung up on him. Look it up. We don't do that anymore. We always have a route to the hospital. I was a transportation agent. That's what I did. I did it for 2.5 years. There was always a dedicated route to the hospital. Today, sadly, they used it. There's an agent at that hospital with a dedicated phone line. That phone line probably rang today. The first time it's rang in a long time. And I'll bet that agent was probably surprised when he picked it up. Another important takeaway. Someone had said on a news network before that the Secret Service doesn't have an intelligence division. That is inaccurate. The Secret Service has a thoroughly staffed protective intelligence division. That is literally all they do, is investigate threat cases. They have a PI squad in every office, protective intelligence, and it's run out of headquarters. The Protective Intelligence Division exists and is real. I don't know why that person said that. May have been a mistake. Again, this is not time to be critical or unnecessarily nitpicky about people's stuff. However, I don't want you to be misguided. Why is that important? We're going to know shortly. The gunman's now dead, being reported on multiple news outlets right now. We're going to know the identity shortly. Was this person a monitored, what we would call unusual interest case? Was this person on a Secret Service record in the past? Were they a class 1, class 2, class 3, class 3 being really, really dangerous people who have shown an active interest in killing the president? I doubt it, because they're usually monitored when a protectee comes to district. However, what the intelligence file, if there was one on this individual, is going to be fascinating. And when we find out the identity. Couple more points. And again, forgive me for the dour presentation. I just, can I show you something on the phone? And I'll show you something. So this was this morning at 8:48 a.m. I had did you just see that? Called President Trump this morning. I'm a little banged up about it. I feel like I distracted him, or I don't know. I had to talk to him. Sorry, I just really cross. I feel like I don't know. I know I didn't. I want to talk to him about something. I feel like I wasted his time. Poor guy, what he went through today. Something small I had to talk to him about. I'm watching this on the screen, and another thing I wanted to put out, the armor may have saved him, ladies and gentlemen. If you look on the stage, that what appears to be the, looks ceremonial. See, it looks kind of like a flag design with the red, white, and blue. That's likely armor. There's a darn good chance that armor possibly saved him. So, folks, that's something, again, we don't know, but it looks like it was 8 to 10 shots. It was at a shot that hit his ear. It appears to be the case at this point. But, what else could it have possibly been? I want to end on a couple notes here. This is one broadcast I really wish I'd never done. Ever. It's time for a full presidential package for President Trump. If you go back and listen to episode 2079, President Trump does not have that. He doesn't have that now. I get it. There are some legalities involved. But President Trump is a former president running for re-election. You essentially have two incumbents running. Folks, he does not have a full presidential package right now. It is putting the man in danger. His threat level is apocalyptic and catastrophic. It is time right now for Kim Cheadle, the Secret Service director, to get her head out of her ass and do the right thing. I could tell you stories for days about her putting politics ahead of presidential protection. I am not being overly emotional because I've said it before. The Secret Service director is utterly unqualified right now to be doing what she's doing. It is time for her first to get this thing solved. It's an emergency situation right now, and find out what happened. But she should step down immediately. Some of the things she has told people on that detail about security arrangements, clearly making political statements, she is completely unqualified. It is time for President Trump to have a full presidential package. I'll leave you with this, and then I'm asking you all, please, again, it's in these times where, I'm not some freaking poet, man. So we don't need to do any of that stuff. I'm just saying, like when these people get lost at sea, they have lighthouses and stuff for a reason, God's that one for you. And he's that one for us right now. Just ask. Just open up. Prayer matters. It's not a joke. It's not some scam. What do you think? This was all created out of some kind of alien mist or something? We need him right now. The nation needs him. Still the United States of America, even though we got a lot of crazy people. You don't want some foreign country right now taking advantage of this chaos. And on this, listen, I say all the time, maybe put a little smile on your face in a really tragic time. Campaigns are snapshots and sound bites. That's all they are. Donald Trump's got a lot of guts, man, getting up there, exposing himself again to what he knew was an assassination attempt, and pounding his fist in the air. That snapshot's going to live forever. Hey, thanks for tuning in. And again, I'm really sorry about the kind of dour approach. That's been on my mind. I just feel like I don't know.
All right. I think, I think Dan's wrapping up there. So again, just to keep in mind, there are a couple things that Dan was talking about that we apparently have newer information than obviously what was being played. But the thing about it is that Dan has a unique perspective because of the fact that he was a Secret Service agent for Bush and Obama, and I think Clinton as well, if I remember correctly. But I could be wrong on that. I know that he was Secret Service for Obama and walked away during the Obama administration. So, again, keep in mind, first of all, no matter what, Donald Trump is okay. And in actuality, he tweeted something out. Let me see if I can find it here. Because I thought that I had it. His message that was out. He, maybe I didn't pull it up, but let me see if I can get it. Anyway, he has put out on Truth. He put out a message on Truth. And I'll see if I can find it. Here we go. Let's see if I got to get to the actual, come on. Here we go. All right, so this is reportedly the full statement on Truth. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America. All right. So I'm going to point something out to you. Yes, that is true. If you have a bullet shot at you, okay? If you have a bullet shot at you, you will hear a whizzing sound, because especially if it's a rifle bullet and any kind of a rifled round, and because of the fact that the rifling in the barrel causes the bullet to spin, and it's that spin that helps with the accuracy, and that is exactly why you hear the whiz of the bullet go by as it breaks through. If you are in front of that bullet, you will hear the bullet pass by you before you hear the actual shock wave, the sound barrier of the shot. And I'm not going to tell you how I know that, because that is a story for a much drunker and older myself. But I can tell you that is real life experience. You will hear the bullet whiz by you. The other thing that I will also agree with Donald Trump on is the fact that if your ear is injured, you do bleed profusely from it. It doesn't have to be that bad. And I have a story to tell you about that again at another time. But I, at one point, did split my ear open and it bled like crazy. So that being said, I can certainly understand and will concur with Donald Trump's messages with that. And I can tell you right now that he sounds like he's at least in really good spirits as far as that goes. So Dan is also right. Snapshots and sound bites. That snapshot of Donald Trump with blood on his face, standing there in defiance with his fist up. That will be a snapshot for the ages. And I'm sure that his media people will use that to their fullest advantage. I'm sure they'll also use the opportunity in the fact that Joe Biden's personal account on X just before the shooting occurred was calling for gun control. I'm sure that they'll use that as well for it. So anyway, just to recap what we know at this time, there was a shooter at the Trump rally in Butler. President Trump was grazed by a bullet. It appears from the sounds that it was a semi-automatic weapon, that it was likely one of a small caliber, that it also, unfortunately, took the life of one other spectator and one other in critical condition. We do not have any, we don't have any other further information at this time. The Secret Service were able to surround Donald Trump and keep him safe, get him off stage, and he apparently is doing quite well, at least. Initial reports are that he is doing quite well at the hospital being checked out for his injury. I look forward over the next couple of days to making sure that a lot of the information that's being presented will actually be correctly presented in terms of because as we all know, the press wants to be first. They don't want necessarily to be right. Let me just see if there's any further developments that we can, let me see. So,
not through heinous acts of violence. We must stand together to condemn.
So, that was Sean Hannity, by the way. I went to Fox News to see if there was any more posts, updates in terms of what's going on. It doesn't appear that there's anything other than witness reports are talking about blood everywhere, things like that. People starting to scream, getting down on the ground. And I will also tell you, too, from experience, that when you start pulling the trigger that rapidly, okay, your accuracy goes off completely. So you can't, I mean, you know, one thing about that the left doesn't seem to understand is automatic weapons are not that hard to, or not that easy to control. An automatic weapon, when it is kicking back, if you are not fully trained in terms of how to keep that muzzle on target, it is impossible. That's part of the reason why the military, or the you know, in my case, the Army, went from a fully automatic M16 over to a 3-round burst. And I can even tell you from experience that even with an M16, which is a slightly bigger round as far as the round itself than a 22, but does pack more powder, in the casing, because the casing itself is much larger. But and honestly, that's just to increase the effective range of the bullet. But the thing about it is when you take and you put that thing on full auto, even at a small caliber such as the 223, it is difficult to keep on target. Because what you need to understand is a simple shift in your muzzle, not even like we're talking, not even a quarter of an inch can throw you off by inches downrange, depending upon how far your target is away from you. And you know, the Hollywood and the movies and everything else, they all talk about it. And one of the things that I did notice, by the way, in the Trump video that I played earlier, it's a little bit further on, but one thing I did notice is that there were gusts of wind that were going on. And yes, Music Man points out, or feet. And that's true. That is entirely true. Just a small millimeter of shift in your muzzle, okay? A small shift in your muzzle can cause the bullet to change trajectory drastically by the target. And there is absolutely no way that this individual realistically was a potentially high level of trained sniper. I'm going to say that right now, because if they were, you really wouldn't have Trump alive if that was the case. So I am gonna make that statement. Could be wrong, but I am going to make that statement. And mainly just because of the fact that if you look at the flags after Trump was shot, the flags do pick up and gust. And one of the things that a sniper has to take into account is, depending upon the distance that they are from the target, they do have to take into account any type of crosswind. And if we assume, based on the angle that Trump's ear got hit, the angle that he was looking at was crosswind from where the gust was coming from. And so it is entirely possible, although not confirmed, I am going to throw out a little conjecture here, is that it is entirely possible that the wind could have ruined the shot. And if so, that was definitely an act that we all should be praying for. That was a totally opportune moment for that bullet to get out of the way, because of the fact that there was a shift in the wind from that shooter. So again, keep in mind, the shooter is dead. That's what's being reported. Trump is fine. He issued a statement that he seems to be perfectly okay. And, or, well, maybe not perfectly, because now he has a hole in his ear, apparently, or at least some nick on his ear. And so that being said, I don't believe that Trump is going to let this thing pass at all, whatsoever. So Trump is okay. One spectator dead that we are aware of, one in critical condition in the hospital. And, yeah, it's, people, I'm telling you, people do not understand how difficult a long-range shot actually is to get on target. And if you're shooting at somebody's head, like apparently he was, this person was at Donald Trump, there is just so many things that can go wrong in a situation like that. So I am fairly, my guess is, my assumption is at this point that this person wasn't very highly trained. In fact, there are people that are out there that would tell you that just based off of the shot patterns, that there's chances that this guy had no training, no real training anyway. He was just a wannabe looking to do some damage, and took an attempt at Trump, and unfortunately, for that bystander, took it. So anyway, we will learn more as time goes on. Sunday, Monday, I'll probably have some updates for you on Monday's show. But that is the current situation, and it seems like Donald Trump is at least in fairly decent spirits, although I'm sure that he is probably pretty pissed at this point. I know I would be. All right, so let me get to some other stories that are running around. Well, we've had enough analysis on Donald Trump now. Apparently here in Red State, bungling Biden gets cold shoulder from Dems at a Michigan event and descends to lying, sniffing, and other weirdness. So Biden went and showed up at a Detroit, Michigan rally. And this is on Friday, to try and, of course, inject some life. Now, you remember I talked yesterday with regards to the fact that 90 million is being held up by Biden's donors in pledges because he is on the ticket. And as I've said before, one of the only things that would probably force this guy out is the fact that his donors start drying up. And so, yeah, this is pretty much a call for this guy to definitely bow out. Steve Peoples over on X was saying that Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer will not attend, or was not planned to attend. Senator Gary Peters, Representative Elissa Slotkin, and also would be absent, as well as the United Auto Workers president, Sean Fain, also was not planning on being there. That's not a good look. That is definitely not a good look for Joe. Is that some of your ardent supporters would definitely be a bit of a problem for the man, for sure. So apparently he also stopped at some sort of a restaurant in Michigan trying to show off his his people skills. I'm going to hazard a guess. And RNC research shows this clip that he apparently went and sniffed some kids, which we know he does that. I mean, this is just, if you have a kid, don't let him or her be around this senile old man. Just don't. Continuing on, he started rambling about being a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania, which is a complete lie, by the way. And he regurgitates the very good or very fine people hoax once again. So obviously he's resorting back to his lack of honesty and truthfulness in all of this. He also did that creepy thing that he always does whenever he sees a young girl in the audience, and he points to a girl or was in that was in the audience and says, "How old are you? Remember, no serious guys until you're 30." Well, what the hell? This guy doesn't have any control. He thinks it's funny. Yeah, he's just a sick, twisted, demented, perverted old man, and he needs to just go. I'm sorry, but he needs to just go. I mean, I would like to see him stay in the race just enough to keep Donald Trump in, but I don't think after tonight, now that Donald Trump is, again, snapshots and sound bites, has that snapshot of him being extremely defiant after the being shot. I honestly don't believe that this is going to be anything, anything but a bump in the polls for this guy. So anyway, I just, yeah, this is, they apparently installed guardrails on his stage walk up. So yeah, we'll just have to see. But anyway, so there's that. Okay, and if you think that Biden is smart in terms of his economist, well, I've played this video for you before. This guy is a complete moron. His name, he's like the top economist, and you remember how Biden keeps talking about all of these top economists say that Donald Trump is going to crash the economy. It's a bunch of bullshit, realistically, but this is one of Biden's top economists. Apparently, he's the 31st chair for the Council of Economic Advisors. His name is Jared Bernstein, and he was in a conversation where he appeared on a documentary called Finding the Money, and he puts out. This guy, I can't even believe how stupid these people are. It's like stupid breeds stupid. Realistically, I've played this for you before, and I'm not going to play it now. But this guy believes that the government, the U.S. government, can't go bankrupt because we print our own money. Where the hell did he get that idea? So then the interviewer asks, like you said, they print the dollar, so why doesn't the government even borrow? And Bernstein can't even respond to that. And he basically just rambles and says, some of this stuff some of the language and concepts are just confusing. The government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends money, or lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? He doesn't even know. He goes, they sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Okay. I'm smarter than this guy in terms of how our government works. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm just telling you right now. When the government moved away from using gold as its backing for the US dollar, we essentially created a system where all we do is we print IOUs. When we print money, we sell treasury bonds. Those treasury bonds go to people who are expecting a certain amount of return on that investment. Okay? That is essentially where the government gets its borrowed money from. Now, the money that gets paid back to those people in terms of those treasury bonds comes from, guess who? The taxpayers. And this is why, in terms of deficit financing, which is exactly what the U.S. government does, is deficit financing. They anticipate how much they're going to need the following year or however many years out. They decide how much money they have to print, and then they go and they sell off treasury bonds or T-bonds or U.S. bonds in order to make up that money and backfill for the cash that they've created. There it is. That's how simple it is. Okay. And this guy can't even freaking figure that part out. We stepped away from the gold. We stepped away from the gold standard and went to this kind of a borrow from Peter to pay Paul scenario. And there's no way that we could not go bankrupt. In fact, right now, our interest payments are even higher than the actual debt within it. And that if we, at this current time, do not find enough revenue sources or revenue streams, and this is the key, stop spending, okay? We are eventually going to hit that bankrupt spot. We're $34 trillion, more than that now, but the last count that I actually paid attention to, $34 trillion in debt, meaning that we owe other countries, other people, you know, if you're buying U.S. Treasury bonds and so on and so forth, okay, we owe all that money. The federal government does. And it's not the federal government. The federal government could close tomorrow, and that entire burden would fall directly to the American taxpayer, because that's who funds it anyway. Government does not make a single thing that they do not take from somebody else. Now, Ross Perot, back in the late 80s, early 90s, had a plan to be able to pay down that national debt. But it was going to cause all kinds of havoc, and that's part of the reason why he wasn't voted in as president. But I would have loved to seen whoever became president at the time, which I think it was HW. I would have loved to seen them bring him on and have him as the financial advisor to make sure that our debt and our budget was balanced. That would have been a fantastic scenario. All right. These people just have absolutely no idea of what they are doing, and they are completely lost, even now. So here's some positive news, all right? According to the Washington Free Beacon, we're actually seeing a Michigan Senate race change from lean Democrat to a toss-up. And this occurred just ahead of Biden's visit. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you this now, and I want you to take it in, okay? The presidency is important. Do not stop with the idea of voting the president, but the down ballot races are just as, if not even more important for the long term. We need to get in senators and House of Representatives, so senators and representatives in Congress who are going to back Donald Trump. This is 2024 is not just about Trump versus Biden. It is about America First candidates versus the blob. That is what we need to do. So if stuff like this is happening in Senate races, we need to help continue to push this down ballot. We need to continue to make things like this occur down ballot. This is our push. This is what we need to do. It's not just about the president. It's not just, voting for the president is great, and we should vote for Donald Trump. But we need to vote also for those people who are going to be supporting him. That's what we need to do. Now, it's not just Michigan, by the way. According to this article, now they're talking that New York might be in play for the presidency. So this is just amazing. New York's 28 electoral college votes being taken. We're starting to see what eventually could end up being something similar to what we saw in 1984. Now, I don't want to talk about red wave. I'm not going to talk about red wave. We aren't going to talk about red wave. But what we are going to do is we are going to make sure that you and I and the American people, we need to focus on getting these people elected. Not just Donald Trump, but the senators and the other congressmen, the representatives. We need to get them in play. We need to get them in. And I'm telling you right now, folks, if you have any sort of questions, I was given a fantastic piece of advice when I started voting. If you are unsure, vote Republican. Just period. If you don't know, vote Republican. Even if you're a Democrat, I'm telling you right now, if you don't know, vote Republican. You can never go wrong with the Republican because they had, as Dan Bongino has so often said, the Republicans may not be the answer to your problems, but I guarantee you the Democrats are the cause of them. I am telling you right now, we need this more than you can't even imagine. We are at a historical crossing point in our history. Not only have we had the first attempt against a president in or a former president in this case, in quite some time, but the leading candidate. This is a pivotal, historical pivot point in our history. November 2024 is going to be the best and potentially the most pivotal election in our lifetimes, for sure. Now, again, just to reiterate, I'm going to caution everyone, we must apply the Dan Bongino 72-hour rule on this. Okay? We must apply that. Stop going off on and jumping in with any conspiracy theories that you hear. We do not have all of the information yet. Okay? We need to make absolutely certain that all of the information is found out before we start with the innuendo suppositions, because again, we got to be right. It's important. It's imperative at this point in time, in this juncture, that we are right and not first. All right. I know I'm going to be ending a little bit early, but I think it's a good idea for us to please make sure that you pray for Donald Trump, pray for the soul of the individual, the spectator in the crowd who passed, and make sure to pray for the soul that is in the hospital critically, in critical condition. That's the last report, so that they might be able to survive this incident. We pray for all of those souls, and let's make sure that occurs. Now, also one other thing before you go, if you are on rumble.com, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button for this video. That obviously puts me up in the leaderboard. It helps the show out so that I can bring you more great content and things like this. Also, make sure too, if you're not already a part of rumble.com, head on over to rumble.com and sign up for an account. It's free. Otherwise, folks, just make sure to put these people in your prayers tonight. There's a lot of people who are going to be hurting over this, not only the ones that were physically affected, but there's also some mental effect as well. Pray for Donald Trump, pray for America, and God bless the United States of America. Take care, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.